Good morning. Welcome to this stream house. Welcome to UC Bearcats on the Prowl. Of course, as always, we have Mark Fightmaster and James Ernest here talking about the Bearcats, and we're going to be excited to talk about their big win. We always appreciate you turning in to the Grueling Truth Radio Network. Mark, tell us a little bit about that big game that UC just had.
Yeah, James, well, the Bearcats got one of the two big games, at least what we thought before the season started, big games out of the way by going to Bloomington and beating Indiana 38-24. Wasn't as pretty as the score may sound, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Very rough, very rough first half.
Yeah.
They got fortunate, I believe, at the end of the first half. One of probably Indiana's best defender got a targeting call. He was out for the second half. It helped extend a drive, and they were only down 14-10 at halftime, if I remember correctly. So they don't give style points, right?
Exactly.
So that's a good thing. So UC gets out with the win over a Big Ten team. Now the thing is, Indiana's now 1-2, and to be quite honest, James, that Indiana team I was watching, it does not look like the same team from last year that probably should have been in the Big Ten championship game instead of Ohio State, or they could have figured something out. I worry that if they do look at style points a little bit,
yeah, I know what you mean.
At least of the way the opponents look, this could actually end up hurting UC. But, it is what it is. It's a win. We went to a Big Ten stadium and beat a Big Ten team.
Oh, my gosh. And, yeah, a Big Ten stadium, just the atmosphere, 52,000 fans. I mean, it was ridiculously loud. And, now I hate John Cougar Mellencamp. So, just throwing that out there.
I hear you, man. Yeah, I've gotten several reports from people who were at the game that I know who said it was crazy. It was rocking. They said there was a good amount of UC fans.
Yeah, there was. It was like section 101 and 102 on there were filled with UC fans, but like the rest of the stadium was IU. Yeah. So it wasn't to the extent like when Ohio State comes up there to visit. No, Ohio State comes up, it's like how Pittsburgh goes to the Bengals, and it's like half the freaking stadium. Right,
yeah. But, it's still good. Like I said, you go into Bloomington and get a win. You can't ask for more, but at least on the surface, you're happy with what you got. Now, are you happy with Desmond Ritter's performance? Are you happy with the defense's performance? Because, quite honestly, Michael Penix, the quarterback from Indiana, he has not been playing as well as he did last year. And, he really kind of helped keep UC in the game with some good decisions.
That's true.
So,
but
the defense did get turnovers when they needed them.
Yeah, exactly. 3 times in the red zone, 2 on turnovers, 1 on a stop on 4th down. I mean, I'm really happy with the defense.
Yeah. The defense. I mean, overall played well.
Yeah.
You get like you said, 3 red zone stops, 2 by turnover, 1 by 1 by downs. I mean, we could nitpick things here and there in each of those series and say, that wasn't a good 4th down call, or it wasn't a good 3rd down call by Indiana, or the Indiana ball security and all that stuff. Whatever, it doesn't matter. UC held the line and ended up winning because even if UC won by 10. So if they'd gotten 3 field goals, it was still 1. But if they get a touchdown, 2 field goals, Indiana beats UC. So,
and then UC lost out on 4 points because that field goal they missed and then the extra point.
Yeah. I don't want to say it's funny, but I was listening to the game on the way back from my youngest son's soccer game, and Dan Horde made a point to talk about how UC's kicker hasn't missed an extra point, and then he misses an extra point.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of jinxes it, yeah.
Yeah, that always happens, right, man? That always happens.
Exactly. At
So,
least because that's when you remember it. Like they might mention it every time he kicks a field goal or an extra point,
right.
but you're going to remember that time he said it and he missed because it's like those two kind of one cause and effect. But basically, the first half. I mean, Indiana should have been up probably 28-0.
Oh yeah, easily,
Yeah.
James. And I will tell you what I didn't like about the defense, because as you said, defense played well. They did a good job. They did what they needed to do. It's a good, solid defense. They struggled with the tight end, and that concerns me. Now, we have a bye week this week, so we can get some things straight. But Notre Dame, and I will know the kid's name next week after I look at Notre Dame a little bit. But their tight end is a flat-out stud. As a matter of fact, maybe it might be the kid that with the Cubs. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he is a stud, and he's.
Yeah, I was going to say the crazy thing is you don't even have to look at his name because it is a Notre Dame tight end, and they're all studs.
I know, dude. I know. It's I guess you could call Notre Dame tight end university, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's that concerned me. But let's enjoy that win. Let's fix the things on offense because, I mean, quite honestly, Ford was an animal.
Yeah, Ford did amazing.
And special teams.
Oh, yeah, the 99-yard touchdown, that was huge. And the funny part is Indiana was the one who was doing the great things the week before on special teams.
Yeah.
Because the game that they had, they had like, I think 2 returns for touchdowns, and they had done a couple other, like, big things on special teams. And, and then we turn around and flip it on them, and that was the phase of the game that helped us to win.
Well, Indiana had just gone down, taken the lead, or extended the lead. I can't remember what the exact score was. And, they go down there, and they put a decent drive together. It could have been deflating for you seeing them boom 99 yards later. Here we go,
Exactly.
So,
and bouncing right back, exactly. Because you're right. Yeah, I mean, that could have. You're right. That could have been, when they went up 21 to 17. They could have been started hanging their heads, but they didn't. Like you said, they responded, they rebounded, and got that 99-yard kickoff return.
Yeah. So and I like what you said there, James. They didn't hang their heads. They responded because, like I said earlier, before the season, we had circled these 2 dates. Indiana was going to be a big, big game. It still was a big game. It's just, gosh, you kind of hope that they would have been 2-0 going into that game and rated in at least the top 25.
Exactly.
But they weren't. And if people break it down and look at the 2 halves, they would think, UC had a horrible, horrible first half, and they did well in the second half. So what does UC have? What do they bring to the table as a top 10 team, which they are a top 10 team.
Yep.
I'm not saying they're not, so.
Yeah, I mean, I know the Indiana, 1 and 2 looks bad, but Iowa's strong. I mean, it's hard to feel bad about losing to Iowa. It's hard to feel bad about losing to UC. I mean, they definitely shouldn't, feel they shouldn't feel like they're a bad team just because they lost those 2 games.
Right, yeah, and that's the thing, I'm trying to get ahead of the voters, or the people who make the polls, or the people who choose the championship, because somebody who was supposed to be a marquee win is now has the potential not to be. We had said there were 2 big dates. Well, now we're looking at the fact that there's really just one big date.
Yep.
And that's the next game on what is it, October 2nd or what?
Yeah, October 2nd. Yes.
And that is going to Notre Dame. That is, and they are legitimately, I think, they're the 12th team in the country.
12th team in the country. Yep.
Yeah, because UC's 8, Clemson was 9, Ohio State's 10, I believe, and then I don't remember who was 11th, but I mean, so it's not the ineptitude, but the inability of Notre Dame or Indiana to be that big quality win for UC now makes this Notre Dame game even more important. So we'll see.
Exactly. And then the problem is then we might be saying the same thing in a couple of weeks about the Notre Dame one. If we do get that one, I mean, they barely beat Florida State. They barely beat Toledo, which Toledo,
Right.
what? At Notre Dame, too. That's the funny part. Like, I kind of get the Florida State one because it was at Florida State and they won in overtime. Toledo, they barely beat Toledo at home. And then the Purdue game, they won decent, but nothing world beater. Yeah.
Well, and you know what is going to help UC. I think Notre Dame plays
Wisconsin. Yep. At Soldier Field, not just they play Wisconsin at Soldier Field. That is that'll be an important game for them.
Yeah, and while Wisconsin did lose their first game of the year and they're rated 18th, I believe, it still gives Notre Dame
1-1. Yep.
Another ranked opponent ahead of UC. Now, what I'm concerned about is Notre Dame is going to have played against a ranked opponent, getting ready for UC. And then you could sit here and say, oh, maybe they'll overlook UC, but they won't. And then on top of that, Notre Dame's going to have a lot to play for because if I remember correct, I was looking at Notre Dame's schedule. They've got like 6 or 7 games against ranked teams.
Oh, yeah.
And
they always that's one of the things people put Notre Dame down, but they have a tough schedule.
They do, and if they can win the UC game, then it's not the path is easy, but the path gets better for them. So it'll be interesting to see.
Exactly.
But we'll talk more about that next week.
Oh, definitely. So going back to this last game, like you were saying, we were doing bad early on. 1 minute and 33 seconds left. Ford scores that first touchdown. And so, I went in because it was 1:33. I'm thinking we're just going to kick the ball to them, and they're going to run out the clock. And then next thing you know, we get a field goal, and they're back in the game.
Yeah, and I think psychologically that was huge. I mean, the touchdown was big. To be down 14-7. But psychologically, that field goal was huge. Getting that ball back and being able to get in there and kick that field goal, that really helped them out a lot. Now, granted, that momentum didn't carry over to the beginning of the second half, but eventually it did carry over into the second half. They knew they could do it when they needed to.
Exactly. And then, just being so strong in the fourth quarter. And I wanted to ask Fickle, so is your players got such a good endurance, or is it because you have so much depth that you all are stronger at the end of the game than you are at the beginning of the game?
I'll tell you what, that's a great question, actually. I would love to have heard his answer. I think he would probably say it's a combination of the two.
Yeah.
Because they have quality players, and they have quality depth. So when you have those quality players, they're going to be in better shape. It's just, I think I think that would have been an awesome question. And
well, thank you.
I hope that he would say it was a combination of the two. But also, one thing when the offense was able to hold on to the ball for a while, it keeps the defense fresh.
Yeah.
We as Bengals fans know that a lot of times they talk about trying to keep the defense off the field so the defense is fresh.
Exactly.
So UC was able to do that.
In the second half, exactly. Mm-hmm. They were able to, by getting that going and moving the ball more consistently in the second half, it really made a difference, and it made the defensive job a lot easier.
Yes, it did. It did.
Okay, so like we talked about the Big 12, and then I think we talked. Did we talk USC?
Yeah, we did a little bit.
Okay,
we did a little bit.
So I have to tell you the USC story because I had a special guest on my radio show. I had Anthony Munoz on, and I got Munoz's opinion. And I was like, well, the best way to solve this problem, Anthony, is like what? And I'm like, you need to take that job. And then that way Fickle don't have to worry about taking the job. I was like, you need to do that for Cincinnati. You need to go back and coach up your alma mater. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And, then he's like, he was kidding. But he started joking like he was going to do it. He's like, yeah, I'll put in my resume. And I'm like, I knew he was just joshing with me. But he's a nice fella.
He is. I'll tell you. So one discouraging and one encouraging thing from the USC. I'll start with the bad, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong. Fickle still hasn't come out and said that he's not interested.
That is correct. Yeah. Yeah, he's never said like, hey, we're in the season. I'm not interested in talking about during the season. But the weird thing is, I guess the journalists have been respectful because they haven't really been bothering him about it. Like, no one brought it up in the IU thing at all.
Well, and I almost think like I think Cincinnati media is like, well, maybe if we ignore it, it won't happen.
Maybe that's what they were thinking because, yeah, they were really cool about it. Like, I expected someone to say something at some point, but nope, didn't. No one said anything. So hopefully that works.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, no, but hopefully that works, ignoring it, and maybe it'll go away. But what was the positive thought?
Well, that apparently Eric Bieniemy, the former Bengals running back and the offensive coordinator at Kansas City, has expressed interest. In that position.
Yeah, he's been doing some good things.
He has, and he's been passed over a couple times for head coaching here in the NFL. You know, I mean, the rumor had it was down to Eric Bieniemy and Zach Taylor at the Bengals, and we see how well that's going for us.
Exactly. I was disappointed about that because I'm a big Eric Bieniemy fan because when he played for the Bengals, he was one of those guys. He was a third down back. He played special teams. I mean, he's just one of those guys you like to root for because he plays the game the right way.
Yeah, and so apparently he has expressed interest in that position.
Well, hopefully he'll get it because he deserves it.
Exactly. That's what I consider the encouraging news. And just to go back to the discouraging for a minute, I really wish Fickle would just come out and say, hey, guys, I'm going to address it one time. And I'm going to say right now we're focused on winning.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he should do.
Yeah. So, we'll, again, it's just more for UC fans to worry about.
Exactly.
I mean, Cincinnati sports fans aren't happy unless they're worried about something.
Exactly. They do love to do that. So the great news is we're 3-0. We got that big win against Big Ten team, and we have a week to relax, rest, and get focused on Notre Dame.
Yeah. And again, one of the big things from the first 3 games is we stayed relatively healthy. So, just take a few days, I guess maybe Fickle gave him a couple days off, I don't know, and then get back in there and work.
Sounds great. Well, as always, it's been James Ernest, I got mine wrong, James Ernest and Mark Fightmaster on the Grueling Truth Radio Network.